November 1924. One of Hollywood's biggest power players steps onto William Randolph Hearst's yacht and never comes back alive. That man was Thomas Ince, the father of the Western. But he wasn't just a filmmaker. He was one of the inventors of the Hollywood studio system. But today, he's remembered less for what he built and more for the mystery surrounding his death. I'm Antonia Carlotta, and this is Universally Me, the channel for all things Universal and classic horror. My family started Universal Studios, and they made the Universal monsters. Thomas Ince worked for my Uncle Carl Laemmle, and after his death, Uncle Carl bought his estate, so this feels like family lore to me. The official story says Thomas Ince died of heart trouble, but the rumor that's haunted Hollywood for more than a century says that William Randolph Hearst shot Thomas Ince. Maybe on accident, maybe not. So did Hearst kill Ince, or is this just a case of legend growing far beyond reality? Well, before we talk about his death, let's talk about who Thomas Ince was in life. Thomas Ince was born in Newport, Rhode Island in 1880, and by 1910 he was working for my Uncle Carl at IMP. Thomas Ince was actually part of the crew, along with Mary Pickford and Owen Moore, who went down to Cuba to make films for my uncle while he was fighting Thomas Edison and the trust in the courts. The next year, Thomas Ince moved to California, and in 1912 he made Inceville, one of the first major studios with stages, prop houses, dressing rooms, sets, a commissary, and pretty much everything else you needed to make a movie. This was before Universal City and before Hollywood was really Hollywood. And only a few years later, he moved to help form the Triangle Motion Picture Company, which was one of the first vertically integrated film companies, meaning it combined production, distribution, and theater operations all under one roof. He was instrumental in the creation of the Hollywood machine, and he brought process and efficiency to movie making. By 1924, Thomas Ince was in his early 40s, and he'd reached the apex of the industry and was honestly on the way back down again. But then suddenly he was dead. Let's set the scene. Thomas Ince and William Randolph Hearst had been working on a deal where Hearst Cosmopolitan Productions was going to lease Ince's studio. On November 15th, Hearst went to see Ince at Diaz Dorados, the house my Uncle Carl would buy from his widow just a few years later. While there, Hearst invited Ince on his yacht to celebrate Ince's birthday and to iron out the details of the deal. Also on board the yacht were Marion Davies, Hearst's mistress, who he was trying to make a star, the Charlie Chaplin, screenwriter Eleanor Glynn, and Luella Parsons, a then minor columnist who would soon become Hearst's most powerful Hollywood mouthpiece. And then the story gets murky. The official record says that he left the yacht early Monday morning and later died of a heart attack, which was likely due to a peptic ulcer, which was likely aggravated because he drank and smoked and had salted almonds on the boat, all of which he knew he wasn't supposed to have. He then boarded a train with a doctor from San Diego headed to LA, but the doctor took him off in Del Mar and brought him to a hotel instead. And then rather than stay under the care of the doctor there, his wife, Nell, came to pick him up from the hotel and brought him back home early, which is where he died. Okay, simple enough, I guess. Sick man gets taken home early by wife against medical advice, later dies. Sure, but the rumors are much juicier. The most famous version of the story says William Randolph Hearst discovered that Marion Davies and Charlie Chaplin were having an affair on board, and in a jealous rage, he meant to shoot Chaplin, but he got Ince instead. Other versions claim that Hearst confronted Ince about money, or maybe that Ince knew too much about Hearst's affairs. Hearst was notoriously bad with money. There were rumors that Ince was going bankrupt, and either way, the guys get heated, Ince gets shot, and Hearst covers it up. None of this was helped by the fact that apparently the LA Times published a headline that said, "Movie producer shot on Hearst's yacht." But allegedly, that headline was pulled from circulation. But remember Hearst's status in media. And whether this LA Times headline is true or not, there were still definitely conflicting reports in the newspapers. Where he died and of what, whether he was even on the yacht to begin with, and this only fueled the flames. Things didn't get any less suspicious in the following days. Chaplin's valet claimed that he saw Ince leave the boat with a bullet wound in his forehead. There was no autopsy. The body was cremated almost immediately. Almost nobody from the boat was questioned, and of course, nobody wanted to publicly speak about it. Eleanor Glynn said that they were sworn to secrecy. So let's play detective and argue the case against Hearst. Motive? Well, Hearst was insanely jealous, and he had spent millions on Marion Davies' career. Chaplin was famous, charming, absolutely a threat. If Hearst discovered that the two of them were having an affair, that's motive enough. And from a business perspective, like I said, Hearst, not traditionally good with money. Ince, rumors that he's going bankrupt. It's not out of the question to think that maybe their negotiations got tense and someone took it too far. And what about opportunity? Well, a private yacht is the perfect crime scene. It's isolated, controlled, no press, no police, and plenty of time to get your stories in order before getting off the boat. He absolutely had the means. The suspected murder weapon was a gun, and Hearst carried guns. And it sure seems like there was a cover-up. Like I said, no autopsy, almost immediate cremation, sworn to secrecy. Luella Parsons would get a huge contract with Hearst, turning her into one of the most famous and powerful Hollywood gossip columnists. So like maybe hush money or a thank you for not saying anything. And a few years later, Hearst would finance the Villa Carlotta, which was an apartment complex being built by Thomas Ince's widow. So maybe that was about guilt for what happened on the yacht. But how about the case for innocence? Let's not get carried away in the scandal. There are good reasons to doubt the murder theories. And let's start with the fact that Thomas Ince was not new to stomach problems. He'd had ulcers for years, and he knew he shouldn't be indulging in alcohol and salty foods. The police saw no need to investigate further. Ince's family never claimed foul play. His wife never made any accusations. In fact, she was just mad that people were questioning her about that decades later, which understandably. And Luella Parsons, she had already been climbing the ladder for years before Hearst came into her life. In fact, there is a really good reason beyond just friendship and loyalty that everybody on the boat would want to stay so tight-lipped. And that's because this was the age of prohibition, and everybody on that boat was openly partaking. So to talk to the public, to the press, to the police, they would have to admit that, and that could jeopardize a lot of careers. As for why Charlie Chaplin's valet would claim that he saw a bullet hole in his forehead, I don't know. Maybe it was misunderstanding, maybe he was lying for attention, but to give him the benefit of the doubt, maybe Thomas Ince collapsed and hit his head on the way down. We've all seen the way rumors can explode in Hollywood, and we've all seen something seemingly innocuous become a full-fledged conspiracy theory. It's easy to forget that this was already happening at the dawn of the industry. And with so many names on board, plus the biggest media mogul in the world, there's no way Thomas Ince's death would go quietly in the night. If you want to see a version of this play out on the big screen, watch Peter Bogdanovich's The Cat's Meow. I just watched it on Amazon Prime. And let me know in the comments if you think Thomas Ince died of natural causes, or if you think I'm letting William Randolph Hearst get away with murder. If you love these Universal and Classic Horror deep dives, make sure you're subscribed, hit the like button and the notification bell, share this video with somebody who loves a good Hollywood conspiracy theory, and don't forget that paid members get bonus videos, pictures, and more, and it's the perfect way to support Universally me. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.